Hello, this is Spartan Commander, and this is the 1050th battle video that I've put onto our YouTube channel. And just to say, as it's our 1050th and it is New Year's Eve, I wanted to try and find a memorable battle for us all to remember. And I think I found it with this particular battle. This is a very unusual battle, as you will see, a very unusual and rare battle. And I just hope that it's worthy of a New Year's Eve battle. And as I say, it's our 1050th as well. So just wanted to make it kind of like a special battle, if you like. If you see here, it's fought on the old school Germanic forest map here. Okay, so you've got the big open plains if you want to fight out in the open, as we've talked about in the past, or you can hide your troops in the trees and spring those nasty ambushes if you want as well. Okay, so our first teammate here is RTW player Sultan Adnan. Now he's got 14 Combatantes and 6 Schola Palatina cavalry. Okay, so if you have a look here, you'll see that the as we've looked at before, the Combatantes are all eagle units. Okay, so they give kind of morale to each other, and he's gone for the Schola Palatina cavalry. There's a close-up of them there. They're heavy cavalry. Quite good cavalry there, and you'll see if you count the upgrades, they're fully upgraded. Okay, so our team gets 70k each. Okay, just to let you know that 70,000 denarii each for our team. And as I say, the Combatantes are all eagle units, so they kind of they're all morale bringing units there, so they all kind of give each other morale there. So that's Sultan Adnan's army there. Our next teammate is Brotherhood member Spitfyr. Now Spitfyr's got 3 Auxilia Palatina, 12 Combatantes, and he's got mixed cavalry, exactly the same as my cavalry, as you will see a little bit later on. Okay, so once again, there are the Combatantes there, all eagle units as we looked at, but here is a unit you don't see very often, the Auxilia Palatina. Okay, now these are really tough anti-cavalry troops here. See how thick those spears are and how well armored they are as well. And believe me, these guys are really good anti-cavalry infantry, especially when they're put into shield wall. Okay, when they're in shield wall, they are really, really tough. And I've seen really the best elite cavalry in this game hit them, and they just don't break. So they're really good units to bring for anti-cavalry use. And he has gone for, as I say, mixed cavalry. He's got 3 Sarmatian Auxilia cavalry there with their heavy swords, and look how well armored they are as well. Okay, but also, I just wanted to show you this. He's also got an Imperial German bodyguard unit. Now these guys have got 2 hit points, excellent specifications. They're so good, there's only 24 in a unit. Okay, that's kind of their Achilles heel. They've got such good specifications, but because they've got those good specifications, there's only 24 in a unit. So he's mixed his cavalry the same as I have, as you will see a little bit later on. So that's Spitfyr's army there. Okay, our next teammate is Orcs CTG. Nice to see him back on both Rome Total War and Barbarian Invasion. Now he's got 14 Combatantes and 6 Schola Palatina cavalry there. Okay, so that's his army. And our last teammate is myself, Spartan Commander, and I have got 15 Combatantes and mixed cavalry, the same as Spitfyr. Okay, so as I say there, you can see I've got the Sarmatian Auxilia cavalry there, the heavy swords, good armor there. I always find these cavalry quite good, but also the Imperial German bodyguard units as well. I find these cavalry combined seem to be quite good, but it's all experimenting. We're still kind of really experimenting, really. And you'll see that we are the Western Empire, okay, and we get 70k each. But we are fighting the Eastern Empire, and they only get 55k each. All will be explained as we go further into the battle. Okay, I hope you enjoy it. And here is the other team. We have Brotherhood member Mars. Now he's got 6 Plumbarterai, 8 Combatantes, 4 Clibanarii, Equitai Clibanarii, and 2 Equitai Cataphractori. You'll see the difference in a second there, but here you can see the Plumbarterai. Okay, now if you notice in their left shield hand, you'll see they're carrying effective against armor metal darts. Now, I think they throw something like 15 of these effective against armor metal darts, and make no mistake, they can be absolutely devastating. But once they've thrown all their metal effective against armor darts, okay, if they come up against the combatantes in hand-to-hand fighting will usually beat the plumbarteri. So you've got to really pick your army well there. And there's the combatantes, of course, as we looked at earlier with the eagle units. But here is something that I really needed to show you about this battle. Okay, so here you've got the equitae cataphractii. Okay, now they've got a massive 8 charge bonus, and look how well armoured they are. I mean, really massively armoured there. Okay, he's got 2 equitae cataphractii. Now, these are the units that I want to talk to you about. These are the equitae clibanarii with their effective against armour maces. Okay, make no mistake, these are the tanks, the literal tanks of the medieval total war. Sorry, of the barbarian invasion game here. I mean, you could throw 6 of these in with gold shield, gold attack into 14 elite Roman infantry, and literally it would be 50-50 on who would win. That's why we've restricted them to 4. But anyway, I'm going to explain a little bit more about that later on in the game. So that's Brotherhood member Mars' army there. Okay. Their next teammate is someone who's called himself Old and Sexy, but is in fact Scorpion King SR. Now he's got 9 combatantes, 4 clibanarii, and he's got 2 Schola Palatina there, and I believe he's got some plumbarteri as well. Okay, so that's his army there. And then we're going to move on to SPQR Spiro Wave. Okay, now he's a newer player to both Rome Total War and Barbarian Invasion, but he wants to get good. Look how wide his battle formation is. Now he's got 4 plumbarteri, 10 combatantes, 4 clibanarii, and 2 cataphractii. But just thought I'd show you how wide his battle formation is there, covering a lot of ground. There, as I say, he's a newer player to both Rome Total War and Barbarian Invasion, but he loves both games, and he's getting better with every battle that he fights. So well done to him. And their last teammate is RTW player and Barbarian Invasion player Varus. Now he's got 4 plumbarteri, 10 combatantes, 4 clibanarii, and 2 equitae cataphractii. Of course, they'll be hiding in the woods. But there's his plumbarteri. So he's got 4 of those. Remember, they throw 15, approximately 15 effective against armor metal darts, and they can be quite devastating there. And there's combatantes, and as I say, all his cavalry are hiding in the woods there. But to make the battle easier for you to see, all the Eastern Empire troops are purple. Okay, so all the Eastern Empire troops there are purple. So during the course of the battle, you can see exactly what's going on just by the color of their units there. Okay, at this stage of the battle, I need to explain something to you, and that is that we're still experimenting on Barbarian Invasion. And as I say, our Western Empire troops, we get 70k each to upgrade. Okay, so each one of us gets 70k. Now, we're Western Empire, right? But the Eastern Empire troops, they're only going to get 55,000 denarii. Okay, so we get 70k, they get 55k, and also they get 4 clibanarii maximum as well. Okay, and the reason for this is simply because of these equitae clibanarii units. Make no mistake, as I say, these are the tanks of the Barbarian Invasion world, and they are battle-defining and battle-winning troops. And they are so powerful that we restrict them to 4, as I say, for the Eastern Empire, they get 4 clibanarii, and they only get 55k to upgrade, while the Western Empire gets 70k. Now, just to explain, the reason for that is also our Western Empire cavalry are no match at all for these equitae clibanarii. Okay, no matter what upgrades we put on our cavalry, they are just no match for the equitae clibanarii. And unless we put these restrictions on to the Eastern Empire, then the Eastern Empire will win easily against the Western Empire. So what we're trying to do is even things out by experimenting here. So as it stands at the moment, this battle, the Eastern infantry, Eastern Empire get 55k each, we get 70k each. Now, in the last battle, we were the Eastern Empire with 4 Clibanarii max and 55k, and we actually won with that army. Okay, so what we've done now is we've kept the same teams, but we've swapped factions. Okay, so we are now the Western Empire and the enemy team are the Eastern Empire. Okay, but the reason they only get 55k is because of the tanks of the barbarian invasion world. Okay, at this very, very early stage of the battle here, you'll see that I was on the left flank. And if you notice, there seems to be a lot of enemy activity moving over onto our left flank there. You'll see Spiro wave, Varus and Scorpion King coming over there on our left flank. So I wonder whether their team are thinking about the way they're moving all their troops over onto the left here. Gives you an indication of maybe they're thinking of attacking our left flank there with sheer numbers. If we go over onto our right flank there, you'll see that Mars looks like he's setting up there, but he's quite a long way away from his allies, isn't he, at the moment? If you look how far away he is from his allies, do you think Mars could be possibly a good target for us here? Do you think it might be worthwhile us, you know, at least sending 2 armies over there to maybe try and take out his army? What do you think? Because he is a long way away from his allies there, isn't he? But as you can see here, I've turned my army to face a threat. But as I say, you've got Scorpion King, Varus and Spiro wave here, all moving around to our left flank. So I'm guessing the enemy team battle plan there is to attack our left. And here you'll see that Sultan is bringing out all 6 of his cavalry, I believe. There you are. What a provocative move that is. Just put his cavalry right at the front of my battle formation there, almost like saying, come on then, isn't he? Like, as you can see there, moving his cavalry out there. And it'll be interesting to see how the enemy react to that provocation, if you like. And there you are. You can see that Varus is bringing his cavalry out there, and you watch Sultan's cavalry pull back. There you go. You can see them pulling back now. He doesn't really want to put his cavalry up against the elite Eastern Empire cavalry there. So as I say, don't forget that the purple Eastern Empire have got 55,000 denarii and we've got 70 denarii there. Okay, so as I say, you've got Varus, Spiro wave and Scorpion King here all moving around to our left there. It'll be interesting to see if they're going to try and attack us here. You'll see that Sultan has brought his green army over here. Don't forget, we are all Western Empire, and he's bringing his army over there as well to maybe stop them thinking of flanking us. They may well go around those trees, that clump of trees there, to get around the flank. And you can see the enemy troops moving forward. Now remember that several of the enemy armies have got plumbartri in, with those effective against armor metal darts, and just to let you know that they've got a very long range, those plumbartri. And as I say, if you think about every single dart is armor piercing, effective against armor, then you can realize how dangerous they can be. Right, now here you'll see Mars. Looks like he's moving further away from his allies here. He was starting to move towards his allies, but can you notice he's moving further away from his allies? So is that opening him up to maybe a possible attack there? But what I did notice there, if you notice here, can you see that Spitfyr has moved his army into the woods there? Okay, can you think why he's done that? Why he's moved his army into the woods? Well, of course, trees kind of really stop a charge of cavalry. Okay, now we know we're up against really elite enemy cavalry here, and of course cavalry charging into the woods, the trees stop the momentum of their charge and also take a lot of their charge bonus away as well. So I think that's why Spitfyr has gone into the woods there, seeing all that enemy cavalry there as well. So don't forget you've got Mars's cavalry there just behind his infantry, and if you come over here you'll see that Scorpion King's got his cavalry locked and loaded as well. So maybe they might have thought that Spitfyr might have attacked Mars's infantry, and then poor old Spitfyr would have been hit by 2 lots of elite cavalry there. So I think Spitfyr did the right thing, good tactical move moving into the woods. Here you'll see that Sultan Adnan there has brought his army out here to try and prevent us from being flanked there. You can see the enemy team there moving round our left flank there. Spiro Wave moving his cavalry and infantry round there. Nice tactical move. Remember, Spiro Wave is a newer player to Rome Total War and Barbarian Invasion, but he really enjoys both games, and every battle that he plays he says that he learns more, so it's great to have him in our battles. Here you'll see CTG just come back from quite a long break from Rome Total War. I think it might be at least 2 years, but he's come back to Rome Total War and enjoys Barbarian Invasion as well. Just look at that pillars there, absolutely raining down on CTG's troops there. Remember, the firepower here that both teams have got is considerable, but the enemy team got those plumbarteri there with their effective against armor metal darts. They can be very effective, but once those plumbarteri have thrown their darts, if they come up against combatantes, the combatantes usually win against them in hand-to-hand combat. So, as I say, you've got to choose your army quite wisely, but as I say, we're still experimenting here. You can see I've got my cavalry in behind my infantry there, but on Barbarian Invasion, in a lot of things we are still experimenting here. Right, you can see Varus moving forward there towards my infantry, and as I say, Spiro Wave there is out on our left flank facing Sultan Adnan there with that very wide battle formation. Okay, you'll see that most infantry battle formations are kind of narrower and stacked, you know, with stacked infantry in behind the forward units, whereas the wide formation of Spiro there is reminds me actually the early days of Rome Total War, where a lot of players used to have very wide battle formations. But here you can see CTG. I remember thinking how aggressive he wanted to be in this battle. You know, he struck me right from the beginning. He had his finger on the trigger, ready to attack. Okay, so here you'll see that Varus has brought his 4 plumbarteri forward here. Okay, and what he's looking to do is to get in range of my troops there, of my packed infantry, not my pilot shield units, but my packed infantry there, where he knows he can do more damage. Okay, so he's brought those forward there, but he's brought them into pilot range, I think, and so he'll probably back them off. There you are, he's backing them off there. He brought them forward there to try and hit my infantry that are in more dense formation there, but he got a little bit too close to the pillars. Right, once again you can see CTG here, very, very aggressive there. Both infantry and cavalry hits there. Very, very aggressive right from the beginning of the battle. And as I say, on our right flank, Spitfyr is facing Mars. And as I say, Varus looks like he's sending some reinforcements over to his ally there. Okay, so what I wanted to show you here is the expanding glitch. Right, can you see here that Varus is obviously experiencing there an expanding glitch, and that is so frustrating when that happens, because it's just when for no reason your units just start expanding all over the battlefield like that. Now hopefully he's not going to lose too many troops there, as most of the expansion looks like it's going towards his allies there. But over here, as I say, you can see Scorpion King there facing CTG. And on our right flank there, as I say, Mars is facing Spitfyr here. Okay, so this should be quite an interesting battle here. As I say, he's come out of the trees there to do that. And it'll be interesting to see how well Mars... Now, it'd be interesting to see if Scorpion King and Mars combine their cavalry. Right, you can see they've actually got their cavalry there. Okay, so they've kind of combined their cavalry, and just think of the punch that they could bring in on the battlefield if they keep that cavalry combined. Imagine them smashing into Spitfyr with an infantry attack on his forward units and then getting hit by all that enemy cavalry, that elite enemy cavalry there. That could be a bit of a problem there. But as we move along the battle line there, you'll see that expanding glitch of Varus. You'll see his troops will start pulling in together in a minute. They'll pull back to their proper kind of units there. But you can see we all get this expanding glitch from time to time on both on Rome Total War and Barbarian Invasion, and it is such a nuisance when it happens. So frustrating. But luckily for Varus here, it looks like he's not suffered hardly any casualties from that expanding glitch there. And remember, if an enemy army starts to get expanding glitch in front of you, you turn off your pilots and you pull back if necessary, because nobody wants cheap kills. Right, over here on our left flank, as I say, you've got Spiro Wave, SPQR Spiro Wave against Sultan's army there. Could be an interesting tussle. Once again, that elite cavalry of the Eastern Empire there could well tell on that left flank. Okay, meanwhile down on our right flank here, you'll see there's lots of things happening on both flanks during the course of this battle, and it kind of makes it a little bit more difficult to film. But here you can see a lot of action here. You can see Spitfyr moving units forward there towards Mars. There'll be a lot of Pila and effective against armor metal darts being exchanged here by both armies. So let's just pause the game for a second here. So here you'll see that those Auxilia Palatina we looked at earlier, those really tough anti-cavalry units there with their spears, really well armored troops there. If you notice, he's placed them there in three positions in his infantry battle formation there, just to try and put off any enemy cavalry hits into his main infantry battle formation there. They don't want to really get involved with those anti-cavalry spearmen, as they really are tough, and especially in the shield wall, they're really difficult to break for any cavalry, even the elite Equite Clibanarii. Right, you can see CTG here still moving forward towards the enemy troops. Varus here facing my infantry there. We haven't really engaged yet. We haven't locked horns. But over here on our left flank, you'll see that Spiro Wave there. And Varus has took a couple of units over there to help there against Sultan. Okay. But we know Sultan is a veteran, really good player here. And as I say, he's up against a newer Rome Total War or Barbarian Invasion player in Spiro Wave. So it'll be interesting to see what happens here. Spiro Wave, as I say, got his elite cavalry there ready to throw in when he's ready. He's got his infantry engaging there as well. So I'm just wondering whether Varus might send some reinforcements over to help Spiro here. But as I say, you can see Spiro and Sultan there's armies have definitely locked horns. Now this left flank, maybe this could prove pivotal to the outcome of the battle here. We just have to wait and see. Right, you can see Spiro now has charged his elite cavalry into the infantry. Now, this is how tough the Eastern Cavalry, Eastern Empire Cavalry is. See how we just threw them in to enemy infantry? And there's the general, there's Sultan's general there, look. Which is possibly why he threw his cavalry in there, try and kill Sultan's general. Okay, if we can see Sultan's general there, just see if we can see where he is. Ah, there he is. There's Sultan's general there, look. And you can see there, that's probably why Spiro Wave sent his cavalry in there, try and take out Sultan's general, take the general morale bonus away. So, right, okay, so Spiro Wave has now committed his cavalry. He's now going to be counter-attacked by Sultan's cavalry, and bang, as they smash in there. But as I say, that Eastern cavalry, that Eastern Empire cavalry is so elite. Look, so he's fighting now. Those cavalry units are fighting not just cavalry, but infantry as well. That's how tough these Eastern Empire cavalry are. Okay, but Spiro needs to be a little bit careful there, because he is actually being really outnumbered there by both infantry and cavalry. I just wonder whether Varus might be trying to get some cavalry over to help Spiro there. Okay, so you can see there's a real tussle going on our left flank here, with Spiro's cavalry getting involved. And over here you'll see, right, okay, so Varus is trying to send cavalry over there. You can see Varus's cavalry arriving, smashing into Sultan's infantry there that is engaged it's engaged Spiro's infantry there. Okay, and there's a nice you can see that nice infantry wall there, stopping reinforcements from hitting his cavalry as we're moving forward. But you'll see that both CTG, okay, and myself are sending our cavalry over to this left flank because, as I say, in this game we found out how tough that Eastern Empire cavalry is. Okay, so as I say, neither my infantry nor Varus's infantry has locked horns with each other yet. CTG, as I say, has been advancing on to Scorpion King for a while now, and you can see Spitfyr here and Mars really engaging here on our right flank now. Maybe the flanks of this battle could be decisive to the total outcome of the battle, okay? Just to give you a heads up on that. Right, can you see Scorpion King's cavalry smashing in to Spitfyre's engaged infantry, and bang as they smash in there. And you'll see that Mars has sent a couple of his cavalry units in there as well, bang as they smash in there. So, but here look, they've run into that Auxilia Palatina anti-cavalry spear unit there. Okay, so they've run into that, and that unit will probably hold them up, probably won't let them get as far as they would have liked to have got with that cavalry charge. So running into that Palatina unit might have been a tactically wrong decision there, possibly. Okay, so you can see that CTG has faced some of his infantry there down towards Spitfyr there, and he's got some of his cavalry ready there to engage Scorpion King. And as I say, you can see my army is basically all intact here facing Varus's army. We just haven't engaged yet. But over here on our left flank, you can see there that Spiro's cavalry is still doing really well against enemy cavalry and infantry there. And you can see Varus is trying to get his cavalry over to Spiro's cavalry there. Right, you can see CTG's cavalry coming in here, going to smash into Spiro's cavalry, and bang! As it smashes in there. Oh my gosh. And did you notice something here? Okay, there's another cavalry unit of Sultans going in there, but did you notice, I think only one unit of Spiro's cavalry has routed there, even being hit by CTG's cavalry and fighting Sultan's infantry and cavalry. Okay, so Varus's cavalry is here, and they're trying to get, he's probably trying to get his cavalry over to Spiro's cavalry there, but you can see a lot of Sultan's infantry starting to crack there under the cavalry hit of Varus. But Varus needs to get his cavalry over to Spiro's, I would suggest, as soon as he can, because I'm guessing Spiro's cavalry is tired now and has lost a lot of its troops here. You can see Varus, his cavalry coming over now, and we're starting to pull our cavalry back. But you can see, I think at least 3 of Spiro's cavalry have now cracked under the pressure there. But Varus has now got his cavalry all right. CTG going to attack again with his cavalry. Look at him going in there, and bang! As he smashes in there. Oh my gosh. Just look at that. Really aggressive attack by CTG onto the elite Eastern Empire army cavalry there. Right, you can see the effective against armor maces there, up against the spears of the Scola Palatina cavalry there. Oh my gosh. So as I say, this left flank, possibly this left flank could be a decisive part of the battle there. You can see a heck of a lot of fighting going on there between Spiro Wave, Varus's cavalry, our cavalry, and Sultan's infantry there. I mean, there's a lot going on here on our left flank and left centre. Okay, a heck of a lot going on there. Spiro Wave being very aggressive. Let's say I've moved my infantry forward towards Varus's infantry now, so that I can start throwing pilers into his forward units. But over here on our right flank, as I say, with the cavalry, the elite cavalry advantage, that Mars and Scorpion King are using really well combined here. I think this is possibly, as I say, we're experimenting on Barbarian Invasion still. So it looks to me like if you combined your cavalry, this Eastern Empire cavalry, it can be really tough. Right, see Scorpion King's cavalry going into Spitfyre's infantry. Get ready for this. And bang! And there's something I want to show you about a newer way of using cavalry. Can you see here that Mars is coming in from 3 different angles? 2 cavalry coming in from there. 2 cavalry coming in from that angle there. Okay, so that's 2 different angles, and then 2 more cavalry coming in from a different angle as well. Now, newer players to Rome Total War, I would say look at this tactic, this cavalry attack tactic, really useful and really effective. And so you can see that. So you see Scorpion King charged in with the old school, old-fashioned punch, cavalry punch attack there, but you'll see that the new way of using them is what Mars is using his cavalry, coming in from different angles, like a bang, bang, and then the third lot hits and bang as they come in from those different angles there. Now I can see Spitfyre's troops there, both cavalry and infantry, are starting to rout. Can you see that? So our right flank, to me, is it possibly in danger of being broken here by the combination, good tactical combination cavalry attack by Mars and Scorpion King SR. Really nice combination attack there. And as I say, we're evolving tactics on Barbarian Invasion all the time. So that could be something to look at for the future there, combining cavalry. Okay, so over here on our left flank, you'll see that CTG's cavalry are in there, or is that my cavalry in there, and CTG's cavalry is just about to arrive there, or my cavalry is fighting in there, CTG's cavalry is just about to hit, look, and he's going in there, and bang! As he smashed in there, Sultan's cavalry is charged in there as well, and bang! Oh my gosh. Right, okay, so I can see here that Sultan and CTG has got this situation here under control between the two of them there. I think they're doing well. So what I'm going to do with my cavalry, you can see that poor old Spiro's general has been routed, but what I'm going to do with my cavalry is, no, I don't need it to help these two because they're doing really well there. Took my cavalry around there, so what I'm looking to do is to smash into the rear of those engaged troops of Spiro's there, engaged against Sultan's infantry. Okay, so if you watch as I take my cavalry round there, you'll see they're going to charge into those into the back of those engaged infantry of Spiro way. Right, can you see my cavalry charging in there? And what I'm going to do is try and hit them here, and you can see my allies coming in, going to smash into the back of Spiro waves engaged infantry as well. Okay, so winning that cavalry battle on the left flank against Varus and Spiro waves cavalry has now allowed our cavalry to smash into the back of Spiro wave there. As I say, my infantry has still not really been engaged by Varus's infantry there, so I've still got basically my full infantry battle formation intact. Right, so this is a very serious situation. Get ready for this. Our right flank and right centre has now been broken. Okay, for all intents and purposes, our right flank and right centre has been broken. These last few units of Spitfyrs, I think, are just on the verge of being taken out. And as you can see, as I said, there you are, you can see the cavalry coming in behind. Nice move here by Scorpion King, coming in behind there, and bang, as it smashes in. Oh my gosh, right. Okay, so as you can see here, our right flank and right centre has now been broken, and the enemy will now look to roll us up from right to left. Okay, nice combination attack there by Mars and Scorpion King here on our right centre and right flank. So really well done to them, and they've now rolled, they're going to start rolling us up from right to left. So well done to the enemy team, they've done really well there, and as I say, that could be a battle defining situation there on our right flank. But over on our left flank here, we've managed to rout Spiro wave. As you can see, his army has been routed. Basically, I think there's just maybe a couple of units left. A Spiro wave there. Okay, and don't forget to say Varus took his cavalry over to help him there, but both their cavalry has now been taken out. And as I say, just these couple of units of Spiro wave Here, I've got to explain something about Spiro Wave in just a minute. Okay, so you can see that he's just got 2 units left there. And you can see that we're moving on. There's Sultan's cavalry coming in there. My cavalry coming in are going to take out those last 2 units. And bang! As we smash in here. Right. Okay, so here you'll see that I've turned my infantry battle formation now to face the threat coming in from our right centre and right flank. Remember, I was facing that way, but I've now turned my infantry to face the threat of the enemy looking to roll us up from right to left there. Okay, and that's the sum total of CTG and Spitfyre's infantry left. That's all they've got left there out of both their armies. Okay, so you can see what a pounding they got on that right flank and right centre there. Okay, so that's pretty poor. But over here, at this stage, you'll see that all of Spiro Wave's army has now been routed. Okay, so he's got no units left at all to be able to fight in this battle. And just at this time, Steam dropped Spiro Wave. Okay, so all his units have been routed or killed, and just at this time, Steam dropped him as well. Okay, so both teams said, and I'll just emphasise this, both teams said because all his units were dead anyway, it would make no difference whether he dropped from the battle or not. Okay, so we're going to carry on with the battle, even though Steam has dropped him, simply because all his units are dead anyway, and it doesn't make any difference whether he was here or not, bearing in mind that all his army has been routed. Okay, so just to let you know there, Spiro now has been dropped by Steam. So now we're back here. So we've done well on the left flank and left centre. Okay, and the enemy has done well on our right flank and right centre there. Okay, and as I say, we're still experimenting on Barbarian Invasion, but it seems to me this great combination of cavalry by Mars and Scorpion King SR, that elite Eastern cavalry there, really proved quite good. Okay, so as I say, these Plumbarteri here, okay, throwing those effective against armor metal darts, they've got a long range, and they may well be looking to target my my infantry units there. We just have to see. You'll see that they throw those things right up high in the sky. Can you see how high they're going? Straight up. Can you see that? And they arc in the sky and come down onto enemy troops. Okay, so you can see them going up really up high there. Okay, as you can see, and then they kind of arc in the sky and come down onto our troops. Now, he's not going to aim at my Pilot Shield unit in open order. What he's going for is my units in close, tight formation. Remember, we put units in open order because they suffer less casualties from missiles. When you've got units in close, tight battle formation, they suffer more damage from missiles. Okay, so that's what I think Varus is doing. He's pulling those Plumbarteri units back now. Okay, but as I say, Spitfyr and CTG, you know, that is the sum total of all their infantry. Our Spitfyre's got 3 infantry units, and CTG has got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. He's got about 8 units, but they're all very battle damaged, or most of them very battle damaged there. So as I say, that's the sum total of their army, and behind us there is Sultan's green army there. You can see very battle depleted as well. You still got some cavalry left, but both cavalry and infantry very battle depleted. So here you can see, as I say, luckily for me, my infantry battle formation has hardly been touched. So I've still got full, you know, I've suffered some casualties from Plumbarteri, but basically my infantry is fine there. And as I say, here you can see the cavalry of Mars there. Okay, so you've got Mars's cavalry and you've got Scorpion King's cavalry there. You know, these very powerful Eastern cavalry. Now, are they going to combine that cavalry again? Because that's what gave them the victory on our right flank. That double hit there of that very powerful cavalry. Here where you can see CTG still got some of his cavalry left, although it's very battle damaged, and you can see Spitfyre's got some of his cavalry left as well. Okay. So there's that Plumbarterite there, those Plumbarterite of Varus there, throwing their effective against armour darts into my troops. But as I say, once those Plumbarterite have thrown all their missiles, when it comes to hand combat against the combatances will usually win. So as I say, when you build your army there for these Rome v Rome battles, you need to kind of really think about what you want to bring. And as I say, we're still experimenting on barbarian invasion, so it'll be interesting to see what happens here. You can see that those Plumbarterite still throwing those effective against armor darts into my units there. Still trying to weaken the forward units of my battle formation there is what he's doing. Good tactical move. As I say, we're still kind of all experimenting here, so I think that's a good tactic of his here. And as I say, those Plumbarterite have got a very long range. And as I say, they do a lot of damage on really well-armoured troops, like my Roman troops. But can you imagine the damage they do to unarmoured troops? Just look at the volume of those metal darts, those effective against armour metal darts. Just really, you can see, just look at the volume of them. There, just look at that. And as I say, every single one of those are armour piercing. So, as I say, my 122 man unit there, that's been reduced to 93 already. Okay, and don't forget, these are really well armoured troops here. So you can see the damage that those Plumbarterite do straight away. But, as I say, once they've thrown all their darts and we get into hand-to-hand combat, then they're not as good as the combatances. So, as I say, when you build your Roman armies, you've got to, it's kind of experimenting, really, like we all did when we first started to play Rome Total War. Now, here you'll see Scorpion King. He may well try to flank Sultan here, because if you look, you can see that Scorpion King's got more infantry than Sultan here, and he's coming around the left flank, trying to trying to spread our troops out quite thin here. Right, you can see here that he's brought those Plumbarterite forward again to get into range of my troops, even more range of my troops there, where you can throw in those effective against. There you are, there they go again there. Now, maybe what I was thinking when I watched this battle replay, maybe I should have attacked him, moved forward and attacked him, but maybe that's what he wanted, and then he'd have pulled that Plumbarterite back, and then I would have been attacked by that heavy cavalry. So I'm not quite sure what the best tactic was there. As I say, you can see Sultan's got his battle damaged cavalry out here on our left flank, and you'll see Scorpion King moving infantry towards them. But you can see we've kind of gone a bit defensive at this stage of the battle. And it's kind of like, to me, I thought to myself, we're going into phase 2 of the battle. Just once again, look at the volume of those darts from Varus coming into my infantry there. And I say, I did think about attacking him, but I just wondered whether that was a provocation there for me to move forward away from my allies to attack him. And then I got hit by that elite Eastern cavalry there. So it was kind of a bit of a difficult choice there for me, but we'll see what happens a little bit later on in the battle. Okay, you'll see my cavalry there locked and loaded behind my my infantry and my allies' infantry there. They've been battle damaged, but they're still very strong there, I think the cavalry are. And as I say, you see Scorpion King coming round our left flank here. With his cavalry and infantry. You'll see CTG has moved some infantry over there to face Scorpion King coming round on our left flank. Okay, now as I say, we know CTG has been very aggressive in this battle, and we know Scorpion King is aggressive anyway in any RTW or barbarian invasion battle. So you can see him moving around the left here, getting ready to attack, and you can see CTG moving his infantry back there. And you can see there that Sultan's green infantry is moving back as well. And as I say here, you can see that Spitfyr is moving some of his infantry towards Mars. Now, there's Mars there. And what I'm thinking about this flank here, look at the number of troops I've got in comparison to Mars. Okay, so what I'm thinking here is putting pressure on this flank. Okay, what I'm thinking about moving forward here, putting pressure on the flank, trying to disrupt whatever they're planning. Because I thought we've gone a bit defensive here, and once you go defensive, of course, you pass the initiative to the enemy. So what I'm thinking here is putting pressure on this particular flank here with my numbers as I'm moving forward. Okay, and you can see, as I say, CTG moving over to the left flank, holding the left flank in combination with Sultan's troops there as well. You already can see Scorpion King moving forward there. And I think Varus, if I remember correctly, has shifted his targeting now, and he's starting to fire his effective against armor darts into Sultan's army there, which might well be a good move because Sultan's army is already very battle depleted. Instead of maybe throwing the darts into my infantry, it might have been a good idea for him to concentrate those metal darts onto Sultan's to weaken his army even more. Please leave your thoughts in the comments. As I say, we're still experimenting on Barbarian Invasion, so tactics and strategy here you know, is still evolving, and it's got a long way to evolve yet, I think. Okay, so as I say, you can see me moving my infantry forward there. I want to keep my army moving, my infantry moving there, just to keep the enemy kind of thinking, what am I going to do here? Okay, but as I say, you can see Scorpion King there moving forward. And as I say, Sultan's infantry, you can see, is extremely battle damaged. Here you can see CTG looking like he was thinking of attacking Scorpion King's infantry there. But all the time, we've got to remember about that elite Eastern Empire cavalry. As I say, when we attack and things like that, we've got to really think about that cavalry counter-attacking us. Right, here you'll see I'm moving my army forward once again, my infantry battle formation once again here, trying to put pressure on the enemy troops in front of me here. Okay, once again, I'm going to move forward again. Okay, you'll see me moving forward again, and that's to try and get into a piler range, a little bit more closer to the enemy, so I can throw a lot of pilers into those units in front of me there to weaken them. Okay, but here you can see there they've got a lot of numbers there, haven't they? Still, if you look at their numbers there, they've still got quite a few there. And then what I was going to say was ask you a tactical battlefield question here. If you were the other team, can you see something that they could do, okay, that could be battle winning for their team? Okay, I'll give you a clue. Think about what we were talking about earlier on in the battle, about certain units that they've got. And if they were to do something here, could they do something that could be battle defining? And what I mean by that is, what if Mars, right, and Scorpion King, okay, combined that elite Eastern cavalry, okay, and looked to smash into targets into our weakened infantry. So you imagine all that cavalry of Mars and Scorpion King charging in there. Okay, so all that cavalry, remember, as I talked about, they're like tanks. I know there's Sultan's cavalry out on the flank there, but I'm just thinking, if they move quickly here, all that cavalry of Mars and Scorpion King, we know it's elite tank-like cavalry, could smash into, say, Sultan's infantry at the same time. Okay, so all that cavalry smashes into Sultan's infantry, and at the same time their infantry pin and hold his units. Just a thought there of what maybe they could be doing. But as I say, I've got into more piler range here now, and I can start throwing pilers into the units in front of me. Okay, now there's a reason I'm doing that. I'm trying to weaken the units in front of me for a particular reason, and you will see why a little bit later on in the battle. I think I'm going to move forward again. There you are. I'm going to move forward again to get more of my troops within piler range of the units in front of me. Okay, you can see that was a very aggressive move forward there by my army. Okay, but now basically all their troops are within my piler range. Now what I'm thinking here is, I know I've got a lot of pilers left in my army, but I'm guessing that they've thrown a lot of their pilers already. So that's why you can see now that I'm just going to throw loads and loads of armor piercing pilers. There, look at that, raining my fresh pilers onto those enemy troops in front of me, weakening them. Okay, and there is a reason for this. All right, I'm throwing loads. Just look at the volume of pilots that I'm throwing into the enemy troops, and nothing coming back in return. Because, as I say, I guess that they've thrown most of their pilots anyway. Okay, so that's why I moved that forward there with my fresh infantry there, that I could throw loads of pilots into those units in front of me. Now, there is a reason why I've done that, and you may well see that a little bit later on. Okay, so meanwhile here you can see the enemy troops are attacking the forward units there of my battle formation. Over here you'll see Sultan is engaged with the enemy troops there. Okay, and as I say, what I thought was here, and bear with me on this, okay, so imagine, like I say, Mars and Scorpion King combining their cavalry at this stage of the battle. Okay, so they combine their cavalry, put them there, say, right, just place them there, and then this infantry charges into Sultan's infantry to pin and hold them. Okay, and then all this cavalry of Mars and Scorpion King smash through their infantry into Sultan's infantry. And I think that that would smash through Sultan's infantry there and rout most of Sultan's infantry there with that cavalry and infantry attack. These units here could then charge into CTG to hold and pin CTG, and then the cavalry and infantry that have broken through Sultan's infantry here could then veer to the right or left, as we're looking at it, and charge into CTG's infantry that are already being pinned and held by that infantry there. So that's what I was thinking the enemy could have done here. They could have smashed into Sultan with a combined cavalry and infantry attack. Those infantry there could pin and hold CTG's infantry, and then the cavalry and infantry that have broken through Sultan's there could attack CTG's infantry. Just a thought there of what the enemy could do. Please put your thoughts in the comments about what you think. But here I'm thinking, okay, get ready for this, as an old school, old-fashioned surge attack straight into the weakened infantry in front of me, hammered home by my cavalry. Okay, because something needs to happen here. Okay, I'm thinking that we've gone defensive, a little bit defensive here, and I think something needs to happen. So, just to give you a heads up on that, I'm thinking of old school, old-fashioned surge attack into the weakened infantry that I've weakened with my pilots. Okay, and then I'm going to ram home the attack with my cavalry, but I've got to get the timing right. Now, you got all this elite enemy cavalry here on this flank, and maybe I don't feel like I want to attack at this stage. Okay, but remember, you saw the volume of pilots I was throwing into enemy troops, so I know that the enemy in front of me are weakened. Okay, and I know that most of my infantry is fully intact and fresh. Okay, meanwhile over here on the left flank, you'll see that CTG has moved round here, being very aggressive, pushing Scorpion King's infantry back a little bit there. A nice tactical move along with Sultan's cavalry. Sultan here is fully engaged here against the enemy troops, as you can see. Okay, so just giving you a picture of what's going on at the moment. But that enemy cavalry on my flank is making me think about, I don't really want to do the surge attack yet, because I don't want that elite cavalry attacking me as I'm surging. Okay, so, and you got all that enemy cavalry there. Okay, so I've just got to get the timing right of the surge. Okay, when you do a surge attack, I know it's old school, old fashioned, you don't see it used anymore, but when you do a surge attack, you've got to get the timing right. Not just for the initial surge, but the surges after that as well. It's very tactical and strategic. Okay, so as I say, here you can see, now you can see, I can see Scorpion King's cavalry attacking on the far flank. Okay, can you see Scorpion's cavalry charging there, and bang, as he smashes in there. Okay, now you can see Mars taking his cavalry, looking to take his cavalry over to that other flank. Now imagine if Scorpion King and Mars are combined a cavalry attack. You see what I mean? On that other flank. Now I'm watching Mars's cavalry looking like he's going to charge in there. Okay, so they were at Scorpion King's cavalry's just charged in there. But as I say, imagine if they combine that cavalry charge and they both gone in there. Now there might be another target here they might be looking to hit. Maybe they're looking to hit there in our center. You can see Mars' cavalry looking like he's going in there. He's going to charge in there, and bang. Now this is what I've been waiting for. This is what I've been waiting for that cavalry to become engaged. Now watch my infantry. Watch my infantry here. Watch the surge. Okay, so watch my infantry going in. Right, pause the game for a second here. So here, I can see that enemy cavalry is now engaged. So I am now going to surge forward my infantry and hammer home the attack with my cavalry. Okay, so let's see if it's going to be effective. Here, I'm going to go for the far unit. Enemy unit there with my cavalry, so I'm hoping my cavalry are charging. Right, watch the surge. Right, see my infantry surging forward. Now I need the hammer of the cavalry. I need the hammering of the cavalry going in there, and bang goes in my cavalry, and crunch, bang, smash straight in to the enemy troops there. Now with a combination of the infantry surge attack and that surge attack being hammered home by the cavalry, I've smashed through Mars's engaged infantry. He was engaged in the forward units of my battle formation there, but I've now smashed through that with my infantry and cavalry. Okay, I need to finish off these units here in this area here with both cavalry and infantry. Okay, so that old school, old-fashioned surge attack here has smashed through Mars's infantry there. And don't forget that infantry surge attack was hammered home by my cavalry here, and these other units are routing. Okay, so I need to change trajectory of my surge now, and I need to go left. Okay, you can see my allies here really aggressively engaging the enemy troops. There is Mars's cavalry over on the other flank. Okay, so I was just waiting for that cavalry to be engaged somewhere else before I did the surge attack. Remember what I said to you? Before you do an old school, old-fashioned surge attack, you've got to get the timing right. Very, very important. And so you can see we smashed through those weakened units in front of me there, which I said I'd weaken with my pile of hits. And now I need to change trajectory of the surge attack, and I need to go left now. I've taken my cavalry over there to lock and load them. And you can see my infantry is now surging left. Okay, so I no longer need to go forward. I need to go surge left here to start trying to roll the enemy team up. Okay, I've got my cavalry locked and loaded there, ready to send in when needed. But as I say, we've broken through here on our right flank there, taken out most of Mars's troops there. And now you can see me surging forward once again from our right over to the left there into enemy troops. Okay, you can see me moving forward. Now watch my cavalry. Very important to get the cavalry charge right as well, because that really does hammer home that surge attack. Watch the cavalry going in there like a bang. There's a cavalry and infantry combined surge attack there. Look at that. I mean, it just routs enemy troops almost on impact there if you get the timing right. As I say, people can try the surge attack, but if they don't get the timing right, it won't work. Okay, over here you can see my allies starting to be very aggressive and attacking what's left of the enemy troops there. Pause the game for a second. You can see here CTG, Spitfyr and Sultan all attacking the enemy troops now, all coming in on them. Over here on our far left flank, you'll see there's enemy cavalry attacking there, but we've still got infantry units over there as well. But as I say, I need to keep surging left with my infantry and ramming home that surge with my cavalry. Okay, that's what I need. That's an enemy general just gone down, which is good news for us. Okay, so as I say, you can see my cavalry once again. I'm no hurry. I'm just waiting for a target to present itself, and I'm going to charge in. Right, I'm going to charge my cavalry into these units here. As you can see there, see my cavalry going to hit. Bang! As they smash into those units there, and we've broken through there. So, as I say, all the way through the battle, I think the enemy team mentioned this as well. My infantry battle formation was hardly damaged. It was damaged a little bit by the plumb-artillery, but then you can see how well it's done towards the end of the battle. Here you'll see enemy troops charging in there to a couple of, I think, CTG's troops there. You can see my cavalry and infantry still moving forward here as we move forward. But as I say, as you could see all the way through the battle there, my infantry battle formation was hardly touched. As I say, it was damaged a little bit by the plumb-artillery, but the vast majority of my infantry was fresh, fully laden with pilers as well, damaging the enemy troops in front of me. And there you can see moving forward now into the enemy troops there. You can still see they've got some battle damaged cavalry left, but you can see my infantry there surging forward again. See the surge as we move forward there. Now, is that cavalry going to attack? They were. That very tired cavalry there is going to charge in there and bang! As it charges into my surging infantry. Look at the penetration of that cavalry. Now, I'm going to counter-attack here with my cavalry as well. We've just routed the general. Look at all my allies charging in there as well there. Oh my gosh. And we've routed all these troops here, but you can just see how confident the enemy are with those Eastern Empire cavalry, how they just charge them in there because they know how tough they are. And here we are, we've routed that general there, and now it's just these troops here that we need to try and take out. You'll see I'm moving both my infantry and cavalry over towards these enemy troops now. And all my allies there are doing the same, all charging in there.
The enemy army is in flight. Pursue them and drive them from the battlefield.
And it looks like our team has managed to go on and win the battle there. It's quite a spread out battle if we look. Now, if you remember, I think here you can see everybody's got battle damage unit. Now over here, remember this was our right flank that Mars and Scorpion King SR broke. Remember our right flank, that's where Spitfyr was broken there. They broke there, and then of course our right center where CTG was as well. So well done to Scorpion King and Mars. They broke our right flank and right center there. You can see how vicious the attacking is just by all the dead. Of course, it's long grass there, so you can't see the bodies that clearly. And then if we move over to the left flank, this is where Spiro Wave army was taken out, and Varus's cavalry was taken out there by a combination of our cavalry and Sultan's infantry. So you can see that, and then we move back into the left center here, where there was a lot of fighting going on here. You can just see by the intensity of the dead there laying in the long grass. But as I say, our team managed to go on to win the battle there. As I say, we're still kind of tactics and strategies are still evolving on Barbarian Invasion for us. So during the course of the battle, you may well have seen some things there that you'd like to comment on that maybe could enhance. You can see here that Spitfyr's general, Sultan's general, and my general, I can see my general there as well, are all still alive. So we're giving lots of morale there, general morale bonus to our teams as well. I think CTG's general was actually taken out, I think. Okay, so the first thing I'd like to say is really well played to both teams there. I thought everybody played well, guys. Great battle. Remember, we're still experimenting, and you can see it was an average victory. I thought it might have been close. It must have just edged into average there. And the highest kills in the game unusually goes to myself, 2,230 kills. So, you know, really pleased. That's so unusual these days to get the highest kills. And look how many troops I had left at the end of the battle. As I say, my infantry battle formation was basically intact there. Look how many troops I got left in comparison to my allies, troops that I've got left there. So they were well done to Mars. Great kills there. Look, 1,970. Really great kills from Mars. That was really well done to him. Well done to Scorpion King SR. Got some great kills as well there. Look, really good kills for him. Spiro Wave, he did well, I thought, on that left flank there. I thought he did well. And well done to Varus as well. Got over 1,000 kills. So really well played, guys. Great moves there. Well done to Orcs CTG. Got some great kills there as well. Very aggressive, I noticed. Well done to Spitfyr. Now, bearing in mind he was smashed and crashed on that right flank, he did well. And well done to Sultan. Now, he got over 2,000 kills. Unusual to see more than one person with 2,000 kills. Unusual to see two people with more than 2,000 kills. So well done to Sultan. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this battle. let's say we got the first and second highest kills, they got the third and fourth highest kills there. So that just goes to show how intense the fighting was. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this New Year's Eve battle. This is the last battle of 2025, and I'm looking forward to putting some new battles on in 2026. Please leave your thoughts in the comments, but the main thing I wanted to say is Happy New Year to all of you. I hope you have a great 2026, and see you there.